What's going on, Rovers? Sam here, back at it again for another video. I have been playing Wuthering Waves pretty much nonstop since release. I've been playing for about 12 to 16 to 18 hours, most of which have been live here on YouTube. So if you ever want to come say hi and chill, we would love to have you. But I wanted to take a minute to give my, first impressions and thoughts on the game. Now, I'm going to be completely honest and objective. I'm going to go over the good, the bad, and the ugly. So let's get into it. Now, as I mentioned, a lot of my playtime has been live here on YouTube, so that's why you see my ugly mug in the bottom corner. So just disregard that. But let's start off with the good. Now, I think we can all agree that the main draw and selling point of Wuthering Waves is the combat. And listen, I got to tell you, the combat is so much fun. There's so much depth. There's so many layers. Each character feels so unique and does something different. Each character has unique hitboxes and intro outros. There's just so much going on. Even though I've put in a good amount of time, I still feel like I'm just scratching the surface, especially with characters like Danjin and Encore that have so much different combos and optimization. It's a little overwhelming. I'm not gonna lie. Like going from other gotcha games to Wuthering Waves is like yes, there's a lot of similarities, but I feel like Wuthering Waves is just like a gotcha version of Devil May Cry. Like there is so much going on. There's so many different combat or combos and different combat aspects. It's awesome. So I personally, not to be hyperbolic at all, I do think the gameplay and the combat of Wuthering Waves is the best in the industry. I don't really think that's a bold statement at all. It just watch the tape, play the game. It is absolutely phenomenal. Now, I think a couple other good aspects are the actual overworld and then also the kind of the ecosystem. Now, I really like the ecosystem. Obviously, farming artifacts isn't the most fun, but the fact that we actually get to do it in the overworld, each mob feels unique. They have different attack patterns. They also have different abilities once you actually capture them. So I really enjoy the ecosystem. Now, I'm probably a little biased because I'm a huge Pokemon fan. I've been playing Pokemon all my life. So capturing these monsters that have different abilities and then coupled with the fact that I have different stats that make my characters better, I think it is a win-win. It definitely feels, a little bit grindy and what have you, but what artifact system in a gotcha game doesn't feel grindy? Most of the time that is the end game. So for me, I think it's as far as the artifact system is concerned, I think it's one of my favorites personally. Now the overworld, because there is so many echoes and different mobs, it does feel very alive and it does feel very saturated with, things to do. That being said, I know that the tones and the overall aesthetic might not be everybody's favorite. For me, I kind of like the post-apocalyptic, dark and kind of muted tones. It feels unique. It doesn't feel overly saturated. Now, I did think that they really did up their color palette. Even in the first 5 minutes of the game, I was like, wow, the characters' faces, like Yang Yang and Shishia, like I thought they looked a lot better. And even, the background and the surroundings, I thought they really improved the saturation. So that was nice to see. But I know it's not for everybody. I do like it. I think, if we're comparing it to Genshin, I think Genshin is a little bit more, I don't know what to call it, like cartoony or what have you, but both are excellent games design wise in their own right. But I personally really like Wuthering Waves' overall aesthetic. Now, if we go to the ugly, now I have seen a lot of reports on Twitter and Reddit that the game was pretty much unplayable for a lot of gamers, especially mobile. Like you couldn't even get into the game, let alone, you know, play the game. So I don't know if I just got lucky. I don't even have a Giga Chad PC by any of the stretch of the imagination, but I haven't noticed any issues, any stuttering frames or anything like that. For me, it's been, really, really smooth. But I've even heard people with like really cracked out PCs like Mr. Pokey, it was like a 4080, who had a lot of difficulties as well. So that is definitely an issue. I know every release wants to be as pog as possible, and It is really unfortunate that, a lot of gamers weren't able to jump in and experience the game well. I did hear that they did have a quick patch this morning that sounds like it made a lot of improvements. I think a lot of my gamers and, other chatters and other streams have said it improved a lot, and they are giving us an actual tenpole. So that's Pog. So, Kura recognized the issue, and, they reimbursed the player base. So I think from here on out, I think it's going to be pretty smooth and fluid. Now, let's talk about the bad. That was the ugly. Let's talk about the bad. And not to be blunt, but the story is not it, Chief. Now, again, I am not the target audience when it comes to the story. I don't play video games in general for the story. If I want a story, I'm going to go watch an anime. I'm going to go watch a TV show or a movie. So, right off the bat, I am not the target audience for the story, but I will say the story is pretty meh. It is very, very slow pacing wise. It just took a really long time to even get any sort of, interest or lore or excitement. Now, when they introduced Scar, by the way, Scar is whoo, that's my dude. If he's not playable, I am gonna riot. But until they introduced Scar, like that story was like very meh. And even when they introduced Scar, like they had so much lore, like that it was just like lore overload, and I'm like, we don't really have any, background or context, so the fact that we're getting introduced to all these different factions who have their own different agendas, like, it was just like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, take it easy." So, I definitely think the story is the weakest aspect of the game. Now, that's not to say it's bad, I like I said, when they introduced Scar, I thought it made it more interesting, made some improvements, but again, I am not the target audience as far as, storytelling is concerned. I think if a video game depends heavily on story, like it depends on it, I don't think it's a good game. I think a video game, a good video game needs to have good gameplay, and the story needs to be, you know, additional. It needs to be residual. It doesn't need to be the overall selling point of the game. But that's pretty much it, gamers. I really just wanted to give my overall thoughts on the game. I am having a blast. To be honest, Wuthering Waves day one didn't have the same feel that day one of Genshin Impact had. Now, it could be because when Genshin came out, it was literally my first gotcha game. I'd literally never played a game like that. I'd played open world games, but day one of Genshin was just like, whoa. And I think, playing gotcha games for now going on 4 years, I had a little bit more of an understanding and expectations. But that being said, I don't think anything would have competed with Genshin day one. I don't think anything ever will. But I think Wuthering Waves, my first, 24 hours in, I think it's a very captivating game. I'm excited to continue to min max my characters, fight bosses, collect echoes. I'll still check out the story. Obviously, gonna collect a bunch of characters and so on and so forth. But all in all, I would give day one of Wuthering Waves about a 7.5 to 8. I'm very excited for the future of this game. I hope Kuro continues to, make improvements, listen to the community, and just continue to let their game cook and thrive. But as always, gamers, I appreciate you all so much. Comment down below what are your thoughts on the game thus far, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.